Monday, the 29th of May 2023, and nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Today, we're talking about the mental health crisis facing our communities with Sister Michelle Hendricks of the Retreat Day Hospital and Bradley Bailey, who is, among many things, the founder of the Kind Heart Project. Before we start, let's have a look at this video. No sound?
No sound.
Sister Hendricks, mental health is one of the main crises in our communities. And, you work in the Retreat Day Hospital and people come with a lot of kwala, but that they're not shy to talk about. So why do you think mental health carries such a stigma among people?
It's mostly because they are not aware and they do not see that or know that it can happen to anybody. It is a normal physical ailment. It's the same like diabetes or hypertension. It's the same like that. But because it's the way that people look at you. If you should say, oh no, I've got a mental illness, or currently, oh no, I'm going to Sister Hendricks, I'm a Sister Hendricks patient, then they still look.
What do you think people are afraid of with their perceptions, with friends and family and employers?
I think what they think once a year mental health or mental illness, then people or the people's perception thing is that person is mad. He cannot function on his own. But it's not like that. Because that person is still a human being. He still has feelings, he still has his thoughts, and he can still work. He can do everything that you and me can do. It might just be that in a particular part of episode in his life, he couldn't handle all the stresses that the life threw at him.
And people don't really feel seen when they're suffering from any sort of mental illness or they're going through a rough patch. What does it take for them to? How many steps have they taken by the time they come to see Sister Hendricks at mental health services at Retreat Day Hospital?
Sorry. So if I look at, so many of the people or the patients with anxiety and depression, they come with somatic disorders like chest pains or headaches, I'm fatigued, I just cry for no reason, but they don't come to me, they come to a doctor. And then, or any other, like chest pains can be you're having a heart attack, but you continuously coming with the same, or shortness of breath, which is actually symptoms of anxiety. But now you come, and you keep continuously go to trauma. So now the medical officers do all the medical workup, and then everything comes out negative. So it's not your heart. It's not whatever they thought it is. So which means it's all in your mind. And sometimes it's even hard for the patient to accept what the doctor said. Because there's patients that come in and I ask you, do you know why you're here by me today? No, I was just crying there by the doctor and he said, I must come speak to you. No, things like that. So even the patients themselves, they don't realize, or especially in our community, because everything is just like, it's normal. This is just the way how my life has been all the years. And what might be normal to you, it's not normal to me. That's why normal is relative. Because I can say, no, he's been talking all his life, he's been talking to himself. But it's normal. Then I said, but that is not normal. How can that be normal? It's not normal if someone is talking to himself. No, we leave him like that. And so even his own family members, his or her own family members, or even the community, they would rather make fun of that person walking in the road, talking to himself, than actually reaching out and say, are you okay? Don't you think, do you know there's help here? You can go here, you can go there. There's a lot of places in the area, in our community.
And that's where the stigmatization comes from. Bradley Bailey, I want to come to you. Now, you are the co-founder of the Kind Heart Bench Project. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how that came about?
Essentially, I'm kind of leader,
So, Bradley, we're going to have to call you back. We're just on a bad line at the moment. So if you can just hang tight for us and we'll call you back. So, look, sister, if I can come to you. It's very interesting that you say that a mental illness can manifest itself as a physical pain. And then they come to trauma, and the impression is that they're malingering or they're faking to get out of work. How do you then correctly divert that patient to mental health services?
So the doctor will then refer, or I made a resource list for the people because I am from the community, so like anybody, or no, I don't want to go to her. She's seeing mad people. I'm not mad. But it's not mad people. It's just people that's been strong for far too long. And they couldn't handle all the stresses that life was throwing at them. And they would say, they had a mental breakdown or they snap. But it doesn't mean, that it's going to be for the rest of your life. It can just be an episode. And once you have the support and people and resources, then it can be smooth sailing.
Now you're saying that you are from the community, that the community that you're from is Lotus River Retreat.
Yeah, I am from Lavender Hill.
From Lavender Hill. And you have your master's of nursing and advanced psychiatry. So you're not a normal sister. You're one of the leaders in the field, who's from Lavender Hill. Does Retreat Day Hospital have the capacity to deal with this area, this catchment area adequately, do you feel?
Not really, because it is, but there's also Grassy Park, Lotus River, but like Grassy Park don't have a psychologist or a counselor, so she will also send the people to us. Lotus River have a counselor, and they have like every alternate week they get a psychiatrist, where at Retreat I have two on a weekly basis. So yeah, we are more fortunate than the other hospitals, but we also have more patients or people coming. Because I have people coming from even Fishhook coming to me.
And what are some of the factors that are particular about this area, Retreat Lotus, Cluster 1 as we call it, which is for the hospitals that fall under Victoria Hospital? What are some of the conditions that are unique to this area that actually exacerbate the mental health crisis?
Okay. So it is the gang violence, it is the substance use. Substances can either be a reason, or you can go to substances to help you manage with whatever you're going through, because that is how people relate when I should ask them, now, why are you using substances? Now it made me feel better. Then I didn't feel so down when I smoke or my partner smoking and I got dick. And so if I can't beat him, I join him. And domestic violence is a very big issue in our area. And then with the COVID was also very, because then to be in a house or with 15 people 24/7, surely it's gonna work on your nerves.
At the very least, it's going to work on your nerves. In a worst case scenario, you're stuck with an abusive person for 3 weeks, as it turned out, and even longer.
Yeah, and a lot of people find, like during COVID, found the like the uitkomkans. It's my work. I'm getting away from the abuser. Okay, I can deal with him tonight when I come home. But at least if I go work, I've got other people I can talk to. I can just pretend I'm happy and be jolly and then come back to the abuse.
So after COVID, did you see a spike in the amount of people seeking the help from mental health services at Retreat Hospital?
Definitely.
And what were the things that people were coming to for assistance?
It's like because they're stressing about finance, because a lot of them lost their jobs. So a lot of them lost their jobs, and like domestic violence, the substances, and people being anxious because they don't know what the future holds. Like anybody else, they don't know.
Yeah. Bradley, can you hear me? Are we? I've got no sound.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, right. So, can you hear me now, Bradley?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay,
Awesome.
That's much better. Yeah, load shedding's playing havoc with all of our lives, including this show. But Bradley, just to pick up where we left off, you're the co-founder of the Kind Heart Bench Project. Can you tell us what it is, how you became involved, and what are the partnerships that you formed with this project?
Okay, so as a founder, basically looked at ways. So just to sketch before we get to the founding side and partners, the methodology of the Kind Heart Bench Project is such that it's a visual aid, right? First and foremost, and then it has the backing and the armrests, and those are the symbolic or symbolism around or the methodology around how the project comes alongside existing. Like Michelle said, existing structures that already exist for community to access. And what we do is then utilize their services and make people aware of their offering. And often and not, people don't know that. And so, for instance, we partner with SADC, just South African Depression and Anxiety Group, Help Us Counseling. Then we have our manufacturing partners, which are basically Masterdex and Tickton Timbers. And then, some partner that has come on board for this project, especially Asifefe, is, and then has journeyed from our very first installation at Grooterskie High School, is Roman Alexander, their cleaning services and pest control, as well as their maintenance division. So I'm proud to say that they've journeyed with us and great supporters, yeah.
So what is the Kind Heart Bench Project?
So the Kind Heart Bench Project is a visual aid. It's a conduit. It's a conversation starter, if you will. It says if the bench. So a friend of mine asked me if the bench could speak, what would it say? And it basically says to take stock, to take time out of your day, to sit, to breathe, relax, and talk about your mental health issues. And that might not have a conversation specifically on mental health, but just even having a conversation and eventually getting to that stage where you are able to openly discuss certain issues. And so the premise and the idea of it is that society can be that backrest, can be that armrest that comes alongside, members of the public, community at large, in support, and that is the key, so that those conversations are being held. This platform, for instance, CCM Studio, is an amazing platform to do just that, and having Michelle, in studio, somebody in the know is awesome to unpack this and have the conversation. Yeah.
So the actual bench, where is the bench?
Okay, so in this case, we're talking about where we're launching at the retreat station. Retreat station is, the bench will be a physical installation, a permanent installation. Physically, there's a physical yellow bench that people can access. You basically sit on that bench. That's the bench where, all our partners, logos, everything is on. SAREX toll-free, suicide line is on there. And what Asifefe basically is linking up with is train safety, commuter safety, and especially looking at mental health and how do we combat that, and how do we look at resource, and how do we look at existing linkages to aid and assist commuters by addressing that very important issue as mental health.
Because when one travels by train, you get to know the people that you share the carriages with in the morning. And now with rail coming back, I think it's a great initiative by PRASA and Metrorail to actually extend the well-being of the commuters to mental well-being. So they should be commended. Yeah. How did PRASA, Metrorail come on board for this?
Well, I've got linkages with Keith Edwards for many years. As I started in 2012, I started Perfect Fit 360. Perfect Fit 360 is really a public space health activation where we basically screen everything from head to toe, especially as Michelle mentioned, non-communicable diseases. And as a Western Cape and Wellness champion, I then looked at public space to have these testing done, and the activations were such that it was linked to just the broader public, and then bring in stakeholders. And we used to do that at PRASA offices, at the Cape Town station, at various centres, and they would then attend Perfect Fit events as well. And that's how the relationship started. And then we invited them to the 15th of December. It was the first public space health awareness campaign in Greenpoint, which was attended by over 300 people, which was fantastic. And there the linkages were just forged. I was invited to the first train rides to speak about the train safety and the new trains that were unveiled via Metrorail and Young Urbanist and various other role players. But that's where the relationship started, and then we looked at ways how could we partner, and this is what's happening currently.
Bradley, I'm going to come back to you in a moment to talk about how this particular cause is important to you. But sister, I want to come to you now, and I want to ask you, the people that are coming to receive mental health services at the Retreat Hospital, are they self-diagnosing? Are they self-diagnosing, or what is the journey of them to realize that, like, actually I need professional assistance to help me get over this?
Some people do self-diagnose, but they cannot self-medicate.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you know yourself, and you know that, I can't just lay around the whole day. I have no, with the loss of someone, you need to grieve. There's stages in grief. But once that takes over everything, your everyday activities of everyday living, and that, then it becomes a problem. Then no, I need to go for help. Because, I must grieve my loved one, but can't go on forever and ever. And then that is the one thing. And also, when they maybe talk to people, and then by word of mouth, you can go to this person or you can go to that person. and go speak or just ask how this is the problem. And because I live in the community, I get a lot of people coming to my house.
So people would seek you out and say, sister, look, I've got a friend who's struggling. What are some of the most common symptoms of an individual being in mental distress and needing an intervention?
So most of the time when they come, they are emotionally, they are just crying. They can't stop crying. But according to them, they're crying for no reason. They have become social withdrawn. They just don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay in my house. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to do anything. Just leave me alone. And like even speaking to your children or things that you love to do. You don't love that anymore, or you don't want to do it anymore. It's become a problem even getting up to go to work. And then you go to work and then you just, I don't feel, and you keep on taking sick and that. So that is the kind of people that actually should come and be there. But they're also not, because they don't think it's, or like the stigma, due to the stigma.
Yeah.
They will rather look up a group on Facebook.
Yes.
And put their complaints or their symptoms down there.
And then they get the wrong diagnosis.
And then they get the wrong.
Or they get the diagnosis that they subconsciously want to get.
Because, yeah, I know. I was found on Facebook. Someone messenger me and asked me, can't you come and see me? And da-da-da-da. And so I said, okay, yeah, it's fine. You can come. Come on this date. And I gave her an appointment to come. And she's still there. That was about 3 or 4 years ago. And she's still there, happy with the service she's getting. Yeah.
You used a phrase early on. It's something like strong for too long, or what did you say?
Yeah, it's especially those that snap and that they've been being strong for far too long.
Strong for far too long. Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, you grow up. Did you grow up in Lavender Hill, or did you always
a retreat? Let's say.
Yeah. Okay. So growing up in Lavender Hill, where gun shooting, gangsterism, that becomes the norm. So the children think, it's supposed to be like that. You see? So that kind of, I lost my train of thought now.
Just the stress of the environment, people having to carry on in this abnormal society.
Yeah.
They don't realize the toll that it's taking on them.
Yeah, and they just think, or they witness trauma. How many people are shot in front of them? And then they can't be witnesses, because then you must be scared to be a witness, because then the people is going to come after you. And stress. Then they stress, and that is also how they end up.
So even though mental health is a universal thing, there are particular stresses that happen on, let's say, this side of the railway tracks that don't happen on the other side of the railway tracks because of the social conditions.
Yeah, socioeconomic conditions that we live in.
So somebody could have somebody could be undiagnosed without them even knowing about it, without them being aware that they are inflicting trauma on others, on family and friends, etc., etc. Bradley, I want to come to that question. This issue, it's something that you have to be. It has to be very close to your heart to then play a role in combating. So, I want to ask, what was your particular journey into this, into wanting to make a change in this arena?
Yeah, look, a family member was bullied, and essentially that it was, a lot of depression, anxiety and issues, and that's how I actually got introduced to Hope House Counseling, because we actually took them there, and it was there. That's where we first inroads to counseling. But then I looked at, what is it that I could do to address this? Because the current high school that he was at wasn't doing anything really. And in terms of my research, looked at ways from a design thinking approach as a visual artist and designer. I looked at ways to combat this. But to your point, there was a real tangible moment in my life where driving with the twins to school, my daughters, I actually got a vision of a tree marked X and a red X, and this tree was marked to be felled, basically cut off to a tree stump, and then basically that's the end of the cycle. And I looked at this tree stump, and basically I had pictures falling through that I could see clearly, but it just went through as a flash. And that's where, it was during 2014, Cape Town was yellow. It was a design center. The design theme or color was yellow. And I looked at a chair onto that tree stump, because the tree stump for me still had life. It still had roots, right? And for me, putting the backing and the armrest and the seat there was giving new meaning and life to that subsequent forgotten, kind of marginalized. If I equate that to us public, to community, to individuals, and especially brought home to it during COVID, where it then morphed into the bench. So, God gives you seed, and so I looked at what comes from the tree. And it was basically the chair and the bench, and that's how the Kind-Out bench started. I looked at ways, how do you scale a value? Because when you go into educational institutions, and like we just discussed now, our communities are rife with trauma, gangsterism, violence, gender-based violence. How do you address that? How do you bring a value? How do you scale values again in our community? And that is how the research and looked at ways to address that. And slowly but surely that hit home. There was a Limpopo girl that got kind of bullied, smacked around, and then the video went viral and she committed suicide. Then ENCA News, got a hold of the story of the project in the Western Cape, and the line was to bench bullying. And that's the traction that it got. And slowly but surely into 7 schools, 2 public spaces, currently linking with PRASA, it's gained momentum. God has really has his hand on it. And I feel that there is a ripple effect. And when we show kindness, when we show that we can be that society that wants to seek and do and able to bring change, that others look at that and say, how can we hold hands? How can we do the same? And that's the idea. That's the premise of the bench, is to invoke that conversation, is invoke that, to say that, what can we do? How can we assist? And I think that's what we need to get to. Often and not, we in our own little space, our own little world, on our devices. And what we need to do is have those conversations again, is to look up and to, you mentioned it earlier, is to actually see the person, is to actually hear the person. And that's 2 distinctive things. It's when I see you and when I hear you, I'm able to address, I'm able to listen in, I'm able to look in, I'm able to listen, active listening, to say, how can I assist? Where can I be of assistance? And that's the key.
That brings me to a point about how people, family members, the support structure should oftentimes they don't know how to support a family member in distress. It's funny you mentioned the tree, because I think there was a guy in the Bible who also had a vision of a tree and he did something great. I think that was David, am I right? Oh no, Daniel. I need to bone up on my Bible stories, but it's just interesting. So, in terms of people, family members, it's often very difficult to relate to somebody who's looking at a almost a dysmorphic world from behind their own eyes. So, what is the best way? I'm going to ask you, Bradley, and then sister, I'm going to come to you with the same question. What is the best way to actively listen and to make sure that they are seen, and to, in a way, relate to somebody with a condition that is almost unrelatable because it's so personalized?
Yeah, you speak about listening. I don't know if you in many households now, because the prevalence of devices and cell phones, and even sitting around a dinner table, I don't think that that's diminishing as well. But there's a stat actually. There's a social where they actually look at people going to restaurants, and it could be a couple, it could be a family, but 60% of those groupings will have a cell phone, and they won't have a conversation. They will interpret one another's, maybe a chirp here and there, but the actual attention would be focused on the device. And so when we engage with one another, it's that eye contact. It's letting go of what you currently busy with. Like putting.
Bradley, we're just breaking up there for a moment. We're going to give a chance for the line to recover from the lag. So, sister, I'm going to ask you the same question, then we'll come back to Bradley. How does one who is I don't know the trauma that you're going through, because I'm looking at the world through my own eyes and you are. So how do I relate to you going through a tough time that I have no idea about?
It's just being there for that person, and don't say negative things to the person, like, no, it's a very layman, stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even see that I'm coming to this now, that, you won't get across that you can't be. You must get up and pray, and, but yes, we pray. We do even stuff like, people are saying, oh, that's how my mom told me, like, yes, you must take your pakkie, take it to the cross and leave it there. And then just trust that God will help you. But then what do I do as that person? You pause me and you ask me, hi Michelle, how are you doing? And then I take that pakkie again, and I tell you the whole story all over again. You see, so I never actually let go of it. And then it's the awareness or the perception of your family. And also remember, a lot of the families is that we current in our areas is either child-headed households, or one parent, single parents, or there is like gangsterism. So how do I actually get? So a lot of them don't have the support. They don't have the support they need. So that is also why they just come to me. There's some days that I do absolutely nothing but sit and listen. At least to me. I'm doing nothing. I'm just letting you talk and that. And then when they're done, then there's, thank you, sister. Oh, wow, do you know how I feel now? So mostly you just need someone, a support system, someone you can talk to, and that they're not going to make an issue of it, or they're not going to run to the neighbor or to a friend and say, word? And that. So it's more that they must understand. Like Bradley was saying, so I don't know if they still can do it, like once a week, have a family meeting, and you say what, no, but I didn't like, Roscoe, I didn't like this when you said this to me. I didn't like it, and it didn't make me feel lekker. So can you please not do that in future? Now you come and so, but no angry or arguments, just stating how that made me feel, so that we can be aware of how everybody in the household is feeling. And it's true what that Bradley's saying, the phone is actually...
I really want to speak about that, because there's also a disconnect between different generations, and we're seeing some manifestations of mental of mental illness, or rather mental challenges that we haven't seen in the past. For example, self-harm wasn't a thing when I was growing up. Now it's very common. Or rather bad image and dysmorphia and cyberbullying through cell phones that we don't have. So it's difficult for younger people to speak to older people about stuff that they just simply cannot relate to. So then, how do we get? There are different cohorts. Mental illness manifests differently in different age cohorts among different genders. So, but how do we bridge that gap of I cannot relate to my 14-year-old son or my 70-year-old mother, for example? How do you build a bridge of understanding to people that you just can't relate to as a family member? Bradley, let's go with you. Yeah.
Okay.
I think what Michelle said is important. Some often and not, the person that you're seeking to assist has the answers. Although what I mean by that is they know what's troubling them. So what we need to do, there's a psychologist on Upworthy, it's social feed that I listen to. And what she's done in her practice, she's actually put her chairs outside her door for people to sit, and all she does is listen. And what we seek to do is we seek to get it out of somebody and to say things and to mention and have an understanding from our viewpoint. That's important, from our viewpoint, as to how this thing pans out and how they're feeling and how it's relating to others. We can actually just be that listening ear. And that's a premise that we often forget, where they will often, speak about an issue. And very important is that supporting ear is to say, is to affirm them, is to come alongside them. It's not to blame or be in judgment, but to say that you are there, that you will be there to support them, to listen to them. And when they need to speak to you, that's the encouragement you need to feed them all the time.
Yeah, even the advice. You can give them the advice, but they must be the person that make the decision which way they want to go. We can tell them X, Y, Z, that is what you can do, but you need to decide. Because I can't, because if it doesn't play out the way you hoped it play out, then you're going to tell, blame me. Yes, because of you. Yes. If I say, no, why are you in a abusive relationship? And then leave him. And now you leave him. Now you sit without financial support. What are you going to do? You're going to come to me and say, but you said I must leave him. So now who's going to support me now financially? So it's all about giving them the tools for them to use for themselves.
Now, Sister Hendricks, you told me something very interesting that I never thought about yesterday, and it didn't make sense to me until I thought about it for 2 more seconds. You told me that arthritis can cause bad mental health. Can you tell me more about that? Because that really blew my mind.
Yeah, like I say, we get different types of arthritis. So I think I'll speak about me. So I have rheumatoid and osteoarthritis. So if you are independent like myself, I like to do my own things. That is how my mommy reared me. You do not depend on anybody, you do your own thing. So now, days where your hands are swollen or you can't even walk properly, or you don't even feel like eating, or you just feel like doing nothing. So it affects your mental health. So if you do not accept that on these days, I'm feeling like that, I can't clean the house, I can't cook, just take it easy. And stress, if you in a stressful situation, that also gives you arthritis flare-ups. So it's best then to just embrace the arthritis and accept that, no, this is what we can't do, or that. Because I know there was times when I couldn't even open the peanut butter.
So in that situation, you feel like your agency's gone, you can't even do the basic thing, and that's a lot of people would feel like that. So how do you embrace That
But that is also, it's also about your support system that you have. If you have your family understands and know today is okay, it's not a good day. It's not a good day, so it's fine. I'll fall in. But if you do not have that and you must suckle all the time alone, then it's gonna affect your mental health at the end of, and then you it's like you're feeling sorry for yourself, man. And you're asking, now why must all of this happen to me? You know?
Yeah.
And then it's just plays around with your mental health. And at the end of it all, then you actually end up by Sister Hendricks or by someone just to talk about it. Or one of the rheumatologists put you on an antidepressant.
Oh, interesting. So wow. We will get to treatment in a while. But that's what we talked about, how the internal architecture of a person can affect mental health. Bradley, as a designer, can you just give us an insight into how the built environment can affect mental health of entire communities, and what can be done to minimize that?
Yeah, I think for us as a society, you speak about how do we minimize that impact. I think it's important for people to actually speak about what they're going through, to openly talk about the issues. What we need to have is more forums like this to speak about it. It shouldn't be something where, like Sister Michelle said, self-medicate, you start treating yourself, you popping in pills. I think for us is looking at ways to address certain issues. I mean, currently now we're sitting with a huge stack. What is it? I think it is 1 out of 5 suicide, teen suicides, or deaths is linked to suicide. And so what we need to get to is to really tackle the issue. It's the same thing that we do with gender-based violence. We've set aside 16 days, a month in a calendar year, where we address certain issues, and then 8 murders happen in January, and there's nothing really or tangible being done about it. So we need to address this on a daily. It should be something that is advocated, that is there's things happening behind the scenes, but not in front of us. There's not enough awareness being done around this in terms of really showcasing or showing people that there is. I mean, if you're looking at your tax, for instance, how important your tax return is, or if there's somebody that now we're looking at, diseases that is coming in, and how the World Health Organization was mobilized in terms of getting vaccines and stuff and to people, and how that took over our entire lives. So in other words, to mobilize active citizenship, in other words, how do you get people actively engaged in conversation, and on the broader aspect of connecting with those existing stakeholders or institutions that are able to assist. It shouldn't be something where at the end of the line, no pun intended, there's a desperate call to a suicide line to say, listen, this is what I'm going through now. We should get to the point of, my tagline of Perfect Fit 360 is the power of prevention. So, we shouldn't get to a stage where we medicate. We should get to a stage where we eat healthy, where we exercise, where we get out there, where we do things to look at ways to minimize things, to put less stress on the mind and on the body. And I think, if we get those little stresses, those things right, we look at, what are the things. What is important also to note is that self. People talk about, people are self-absorbed. But if you're able to assist somebody else, if you're able to go out and assist somebody, you need to look at yourself first. You can't be a sick person medicating or helping somebody else. So it needs to be from that health perspective. What am I doing What am I investing in myself to become more healthier, to become more mentally stable, to become more active, to become an active role player in society? And then how can I impact somebody else by, spreading that culture of wellness? And that's the important part. That's my take on it.
So there's an article from a year ago, 15th of March 2022, that says mental health in South Africa ranked among the worst in the world. And if I can just read a blurb of it, the report is the second annual mental state of the world report from Sapient Labs. The headline is that the report found Venezuela topped the list with a score of 91, while the UK and South Africa had the lowest scores of 46. At scale, obviously this is a mental health emergency, and then obviously we would need there would be large numbers of people who would then need to go on a course of antidepressants. And then we're in a different phase of supporting the individual, particularly with some antidepressants that can have side effects. So, how do you help somebody go through those side effects, and what should a loved one know about the side effects that the person would be going through? Her sister, if you could lead that.
So, okay, my personal is I don't like to start on meds. I will first do the resource list, go speak to, and I'm in contact with all of them, or with most of the people that's on this list. Then I will phone or listen, can you speak to this person? Because I don't have the capacity because of my workload. So speak, and then if you feel she needs meds, then send her back to me, or him back to me. So we have, the first line is for depression and anxiety. We have citalopram and fluoxetine. But the side effects is dry mouth. You can feel more depressed for the first it takes about 2 to 8 weeks for your system to get used to that meds. So you can feel more depressed, you can even get more anxiety attacks, dry mouth. Some people are complaining of sedation. So what I usually tell them, within the 2 weeks, if they feel they cannot, please do not stop. Rather come and we work out something else for you. Because medication isn't always also not the answer. Because medication is treating the symptoms, and we need to treat the root of the problem.
Right.
You see. So that is why, if I just tell you, okay, I'm going to put you on medication, here's an antidepressant for you. Now you're going to feel like happy. 6 months along the line, you tell me, but sister, it's not working anymore. And they say, oh, but did you go to the psychologist? Did you go speak to someone that I told the people? No, sister, I never did. Then I need to explain. Yes, meds alone is not going to help. We need the counseling with. It's actually better to have the counseling first and meds afterwards, because then we know. Yeah, okay, so counseling. So you just needed that support to know there is someone that you can go to and you can talk to. And you can talk to this person without feeling judged or anything. And this person is sincere. You see, compared to popping pills.
Yeah.
See, so that is just my take on medication in general.
Do you find that, generally speaking, that the patients who need medication stick to the medication? Or what's the drop-off rate of people who stop taking medication? And then also, what are the impacts of them stopping taking the medication?
So I will have a whole education talk about medication. Tell them I'm starting. This is going to start. So this tablet will not let you go too low or too high, so it will keep you like that. But you need to, your body's going to get used to the tablet. So if you're going to just leave it, It's like any other thing. Your body's used. So if, for instance, if a smoker stops smoking, what's going to happen? He's going to have withdrawal symptoms. So that is exactly the same with an antidepressant. And then they get it double or worse than the first time they came to me. Because they just decided themselves, now I'm feeling all right, now I'm feeling happy, so let's stop it. Although I tell them, no, you need to win. We work together, we must work together. It's not a you and a me, it's a us. It's your health, but I want to be and help, be there for you to help you, so that we can get you back to where you want to be in life.
Yeah.
So at the extreme of a mental health crisis in an individual is suicidal ideation, and that's somebody who is just at the very end of it. And we all know people or have known people who've been there, and we've all wondered whether there's anything that we can do differently. If somebody knows somebody who's in that space, and I'm going to put the question to both of you. I think sister first, you, and then Bradley. What is the best course of action for a loved one to take when we recognize, or somebody has come to us and said, "Listen, I don't want to carry on"?
Best is to have him admitted.
Admitted to?
Okay, so we go to Victoria, 72-hour observation, and then we will see if at Victoria there is a psychologist, there's a psychiatrist, there's all the stuff that we do not have. Like we will have an intern psychologist on a Tuesday basis. On a Wednesday we have a child and adolescent psychologist. On a Monday we have a psychiatrist, and on a Tuesday. So now it happens on a Thursday. You see?
Right.
So best to send that person up. And it's also, to me it is about our relationship. If I can trust you, like I will ask you, I can say, I just had enough. I don't want to live anymore, I'm going to kill myself. But it's just, I'm venting. So there's a sad person scale that we do. Let me get that. 2, a sad persons, and if you have above 3, then you need to go up. But I will go into a conversation with you. Like today, I had someone that did some OD'd a couple of weeks ago. She came to me. I said, no, I don't feel I want to give you medication because I can't trust you. So today she said, no, but I feel I need medication. So I said, okay, who's at your house? Just bring the person, bring an escort with you tomorrow, and we discuss it. Because I can't say, and you can't tell me no, you won't get that idea again of taking the tablets. Then I will rather have someone give you the tablets, like that. But mostly, and I'm not being, what do you call it now? But usually when a man says he's going to do it, he is going to do it. That's
very interesting. Why do you think is the depression and mental health is a very gendered thing? So is there, so generally speaking, men will follow through on suicidal ideation?
Will follow through.
So what is it about women that generally, do you think that they have to be too strong in a way, that they have to carry the household and they suffer the burden, I think more willingly, bad word, but their gender role in society makes women generally tend to, makes them tougher than men, put it that way.
Yeah, emotionally. And, yeah. But women will usually think of the children. So it's not that.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Because many conversations that I had with patients was, will you do it? No, I told them, although I feel so, I won't do it. And then I will go into a suicide contract with him. And those are some patients that I give my personal number to. No? If you feel you can't, day or night, phone me.
Wow.
I'll be there for you. You know, those that I know that don't have any support at home, there's nobody that they can. And I give my number. And I have been getting calls quite often, but yeah. Or you just go into a suicide contract that if you feel you don't feel like you want to come to the nearest day hospital or whatever, but please, do not do it.
Bradley, I'm going to come to you right now, but I need to know, what's a suicide contract? What is that?
So it is, we go into this contract where the person says that I will not harm myself or harm anybody else. They're not just my own words that I'm doing, but if you Google, you will get lots of different. It's just that I won't harm myself or anybody else. Then I put in the lifeline line, suicide line, the nearest hospital's name and the phone numbers. And that if I should feel I want to end it or I can't anymore, I will go tell a close friend or a relative or go to the nearest day hospital. Yeah. Then we both sign. And we get another witness to sign.
I see.
So it's basically just you contracting. It's a contract that you sign. And you can't be in breach of contract. But so, something like that.
Yeah. So Bradley, how do we guide people through the darkest parts of the valley of the shadow of death when they come to you and they say, Bradley, I've had it now?
There's a quite an interesting quote by Maya Angelou that says it like this: "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story." And essentially, what that means is that there's the bearing of something heavy, and that's the dealing with issues, and that you now have made a decision or coming to that decision to ultimately end it, right? And so what Michelle mentioned there is to be that support, is to be that listening ear. When somebody is at that stage, you cannot leave them alone. You cannot give them over to their own devices, or in the mental state that they're in, their decision making is a bit awry, to put it mildly. And so, linked to this project that we do, and Asifefe and rail safety and the stat that exists for train suicides, was the link between somebody at the end of a line, somebody that will be able to. This is trained counselors. This is educated, trained counselors at the end of the line. I mean, SADC, for instance, runs a 16-line counseling toll-free line center. That's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's it's full on trained counselors, so that there's somebody at the end of that line to say, listen, yeah, I'm here for you. Whatever you need. And so that is the support that we're looking at. I think for most people want to be heard. There's one interesting story that of a gentleman that jumped off the one of the San Francisco bridge thingy, and as he jumped, he asked, "Lord, save me! I don't want to die." And when they actually revived him and he lived, he said he actually prayed that somebody would listen to him, and if that somebody stops him and just listen to what he had to say, he would not go through with it. And he got on the bus and he spoke to the driver, and the driver didn't say anything. He spoke to some other commuter, went to go sit at the back, and he was waiting for somebody to have a conversation with him, to somebody to say, "Hi there, how you doing?" That didn't happen. And he eventually went through with it. And so the premise of the bench, in a nutshell, is to ask somebody, to say a simple hello, to say, "Hi, how you doing, buddy?" And that's the idea, is to then come alongside that person and say, "Listen, we're here for you. Let's talk. I'm not going to leave you alone. This is who I am. I'm going to be there for you." And I think once that support structure is cemented, when they feel that there's a safety net, there's somebody coming alongside, I think things might turn out for the better.
So, Bradley, tomorrow is the launch of the Kind Heart Project Bench. Tomorrow at Retreat Station. What time will that be happening? And give us more details.
Okay, so we basically set up from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. So all our partners will be there. The stakeholders from PRASA and stakeholders from the station itself that has come alongside us. Also the station manager, Ivan, the supervisor, different stakeholders, SADC representatives, our sponsors will be there in terms of Roman Alexander Cleaning Service and the maintenance department. I think Michelle will be there as well. But yeah, there's different stakeholders there. Just to talk through that, I think there's partners from the PRASA representative will come through the on train to the actual platform. Then we'll have the introductions, and we'll also have, interestingly enough, thank you for mentioning this, is that we do an immersive an awareness program around the arts. Arts is a great therapy, in terms of getting people engaged. And so what we do is we bring hope through spoken word, drama, music, arts, dance, and that is what we look at. And so Dennis Stander will be bringing an item entitled "Where Do You Go?" and so that will be playing itself out on the platform there as well. So yeah, come along and enjoy.
One more question, Bradley. What is the expectation, or rather, what do you think would be a mark of success of the Kind Heart Bench project?
It's specifically related to that activation or entirety?
The entirety of it. How do you see this having a ripple impact on the mental health crisis in our community?
Well, in fact, thank you for asking that. So as I mentioned before, it's a design thinking approach. So there's ideation, there's an idea, there's implementation, there's a whole 7 steps to this. And so the idea that there's an efficacy program, there's something that we look at the end of the day to say, how did that situation or that geotagged and mapped location pan out? Who did it impact? Who are the role players involved? And what's the success rate? And so what we look at is exactly that. So the stats, for instance, in terms of the engagement is important for us. And so to give you an idea, one school, 330 learners impacted, 36 in Parkwood was the highest number of students opting in to become peer facilitators. That means that they are now, through Hope House Counseling, they train peer counselors. So they got the badge, they're able to go through St. Susie, for instance, Girls High, took it to the next level in terms of, and then I heard from a mother that said that her daughter that went through the program was bullied before, and now she's got the skills, she's able to impact and prevent something of that happening to her peers while she's in that. So what we're doing is we're disrupting systems, we're disrupting places and environments where the very people that is impacted by that trauma is now educated, has been gone through the counseling and has become trained and equipped to deal with those things. Like we spoke earlier about active listening, to see those signs. And often and not, these learners and people are often more prone to speak to peers than to go to a counselor or, you know what I mean? So around that stigma. So what we're trying to address is, open conversation and dialogue so that there's immediate transcript that can be relayed to and say, listen, in confidence to SNT, senior management, a counselor, social worker at that environment to say this is something that we need to, intervene with and handle. And so they're not necessarily trained counselors. Yes, they get equipped, but there's, like I mentioned, the armrest and the backing is that support structures like a SADC, Hope House Counseling, the clinic, the sister that's there to aid and assist. That's the idea.
And then, Sister Hendricks, on the east side of Retreat Station, just 1 5 Rand taxi away, you can come to the Retreat Day Hospital. So how does one access Sister Hendricks if one feels that either yourself or a loved one needs the professional assistance?
So you first need to go through an NMO, medical officer, and then the medical officer will decide if you can come to me, or if because of the influx and the people that has depression and anxiety and trauma, sexual assault and all of that. So I've made this resource list, right? That is in our area. So they then the doctor will clear them medically. Like if you look at thyroid and depression as more than like the same symptoms. So it can be a medical illness. You can have a thyroid problem and then you say, no, I'm depressed. Or other way around. So they first need to do a medical workup and then they refer to me.
I see. What is your caseload at the moment?
I see up to 40 a day, 40, 50 a day.
A day. That's a lot. That's a...
Yeah, that's why I'm also...
That's a big, yeah.
So, I mean, this mental health crisis can't be solved without the public-private partnership.
There we go.
Do you think that we can, because government has very finite resources. So it's a case of building bridges between what the state can offer and what the private sector can offer. But still, do you think that we need maybe another person on mental health services at Retreat Hospital or within this cluster?
Definitely.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that up. And we're gonna make it happen. And this topic is definitely something we're going to revisit in a month or so. I hope to have many more stakeholders in the room. Bradley, I hope to meet you in person at the next get together. It's like you'll be sheltered from load shedding here in the studio. So, and good luck for the launch tomorrow. I will be there tomorrow at 8:00.
That's correct, yes.
Tomorrow at 8:00. You can come to the launch of the Kind Heart Bench project, which is a space for people to share their humanity. And then, awesome. Sister Hendricks, you are obviously at Retreat Day Hospital, and I'll see you on Wednesday at the health committee meeting. Of course, we're going to put up this resource list in the Facebook post of this podcast, and then also in the description of the YouTube video. It's a very important issue. So thank you so much, Bradley. Thank you so much, sister, for your time. And thank you, Nantal, for the show. And we will see you next week, Monday. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Bradley,
yes,
you just can stay on the line because I think we out?
Yeah, we are.
We out. So we're just having a discussion between the four of us now. That was quite